That one movie gig. And you just caught the wild. Sing that one movie gig.
Heyo, and welcome to Full Press Hockey Weekly here on youtube.com/full press coverage, twitch.tv/full press coverage, twitter.com/full press NHL, facebook.com/full press NHL. Mike Straw here as always, joined by my partners in crime, my fellow bad guys, Chris Wassel, Jim Behringer. RIP to Scott Hall. As you know, if you tune in, there's a lot of wrestling fans. A lot of wrestling fans here in the full press coverage. I mean, they're everywhere. It's nice that we've hit a day and age where it may not be as popular as it once was, but you can at least talk about wrestling without being looked at like, you're a dork. It's like, I don't care. I love it. Let me enjoy it. But we have a very fun episode to you today, brought to you by MyBookie, but more on that later. We got our first sponsor read, boys.
I know. I heard.
It's about damn time that people better recognize the greatness that we are doing.
They're clearly betting on us.
They're betting on us because they have just a great group of guys, including yours truly, who, as a reminder, March 20th.
Oh, come on with this.
We're gonna see this at least 8 to 10 times. Wait. There's a prop bet on this, Jim. There's got to be a prop bet on this somewhere. I mean, it would only make sense,
under
right?
at the number of times this guy shows his mug on this show tonight.
March 21st, starting at noon Eastern. Everywhere you can watch full press coverage. Shows, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Listen to us on the Full Press Radio app, fullpressradio.com. Trade Deadline live. 3+ hours of the latest news, rumors, panel discussions. I'm sure Chris and Jim will join throughout the day. I have a random guest who decided to book himself, a good friend of mine, Jeremy Lambert from Fightful.com. We're gonna have a trivia at some point where we're going to compare wrestlers to hockey players. Jim, I'll probably make sure you are on for that segment. And it's going to be a fun time because there's not going to be a trade every 2 minutes, though I do have some fun trivia later in the day for you guys that we're going to get to. But before we get into NHL Trade Deadline talk, let's talk about the goings-ons around the league. And we'll talk about the trade that happened today, and we'll give our thoughts on that as well between Minnesota and Colorado. But goings-ons around the leagues. Toronto is trash.
Except for tonight.
Yeah,
Vegas,
except for tonight.
Okay, it took them long enough. Vegas is trash. And it's
And
only
trash.
2-0 starting the second. Arizona does not want any top 3 pick at all because they are playing lights out. Dallas is hot on the tail, other than tonight again. Dallas is hot on the tail. And the biggest news of all is it's once again Taco Tuesday in Nashville as the Predators are playing, and we'll keep updated. The Predators are playing host to the Pittsburgh Penguins. What are these Tuesdays? I want to do a full show where we just track
the taco.
the taco. Because we usually only on it for the first period. But we'll do I just want
We
to
could do it. We could have some fun with this.
Where we just go Taco Tuesday ham. But
I have an idea of when to do it too.
what are you thinking?
April 12th.
Let's do it. I'll take the 13th off of work already. I don't care. I want to just do one Taco
I'm
Tuesday.
already taking the 13th off then because it's my birthday. But it's like, and I know the Devils won't
young
be
age
playing.
of 642.
Yes.
I don't know. I've always felt you're only as old as you feel, and I feel 65 every day, and I wake up with some pain that I don't remember having the night before. So,
when do I tell him I ran like 13 miles earlier?
I mean, I'd like to
tell him that I exercise. You know what my exercise involves? Running my ass down these stairs to the studio before the show starts.
I mean, I could tell him I biked 22 miles today, so.
This is true.
Yeah.
I know.
Will I believe you? No. No, I will not.
Yo, go on my Strava. It's right there.
I don't know what that is. I'm not smart enough.
Yeah, I've seen that sucker. Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah.
I'm not smart. All right, Mr. I work. Remember, who controls the mute button? Don't make me Tony Reale around the horn. And
we don't get judged on points here, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter anyway. This is Whose Line Is It Anyway mixed with Around the Horn. Here we go. Everything. Time is made up. Daylight savings time's probably going away or staying permanent. I don't care. I'm tired of the time change. Give me more light throughout the day. Though it is harder to put a child to bed when they're like, but it's bright outside. Anyway, hockey talk. That's why everybody tunes in. That's why we're here. The Toronto Maple Leafs have been outscored 10-3 in their last 2 games against the lowly Buffalo Sabres. They're sitting there. They can't beat anybody. They're goaltending. They can't stop a beach ball. They can't do a thing. Their defense is in shambles. They got flat out in the Heritage Classic on Sunday afternoon, embarrassed in every which way. They gave up as many bad goals as you can give up, bad angle goals. I mean, TJ Brody's playing soccer out there. Mrazek doesn't know how to hug a post. And then they're watching William Nylander fall on his keister here, and while the pterodactyl known as Tage Thompson skates around him bounces the puck around him for an empty net was just the icing on the cake. Watching Austin Matthews. And this is coming from someone who's a fan of both Toronto and Buffalo, mind you. I have Leafs jerseys, I got Sabres jerseys, I got hat, whatever. Austin Matthews cross-checking Dahlin in the neck. Watching them be flat out embarrassed by the Sabres twice in a week and a half should signify to Kyle Dubas that this is a team that needs to do something immediately. And we'll talk more about what they can do, but they don't look good. So without talking about the roster moves, because we'll save that for the deadline talk itself, what are your thoughts when you look at this Toronto team play tonight, the first 20 minutes of their game tonight notwithstanding?
Ah, damn it. I can't use what I wanted to use originally, Jim. I wanted to use the thank God Austin Matthews is finally suspended. They're actually starting to play like a team tonight. So darn. All right, so
yeah, but they actually have a pretty good record without him in the lineup since
that's the goofy part in this, Mike. They're actually almost a better team without him in the lineup at this point because it was getting. Look, let's be honest, it was getting to him. The losing and everything. I mean, you could see it was like boiling over. So it's one of those things where it's like, all right. That being said, there is still a lot that needs to be done here. I mean, it's very clear. They have to somehow find a way to find some freaking goaltender that's willing to go there. That's not a guarantee. They have to make it work salary-wise. Yep. That'll be fun. And they still do have to get some kind of defensive help because what they have there is clearly just not working. I mean, like we said, TJ Brody's still playing hacky sack somewhere behind the Toronto net. So you need some kind of depth defenseman because you never know when Jake Muzzin's going to go down again.
Or
Yeah,
come back.
you never know
period.
if someone's going to be able to stop the puck. Right now, they got a rookie playing, Calgren, and
The
who
rookie's
knows?
actually better than the two
Starters
last-
right now,
yeah.
and it's been a mess. And speaking of a mess, and we're
Mhm.
going through these quickly because we got a lot of trade deadline talk to talk
A lot
about.
of stuff.
Real quick. Don't
Okay,
forget.
yeah, Jim, go.
Don't forget, Joseph Wall came in earlier in the year and played really good for the Leafs when Mrazek was out. Look, I'm gonna applaud the National Hockey League for suspending a star player, but the caveat is if you watch the whole play and you take it back from the clean hit on the Dahlin by Matthews
Mm-hmm.
and you run the whole thing and not just the end clip, really, Rasmus Dahlin's the aggressor here. I understand their cross-check to the head.
Yeah,
They're
if
battling
the
in
cross-check
front.
never hits, if the cross check never hits the head, there's no suspension.
No, because these two guys are battling in front.
Yeah,
I
and I'm
agree.
perfectly fine with that. That's my whole thing. I'm watching that. I'm like, whatever. It's as soon as the cross check got careless and got him in the neck and head. I don't care. Accidental, heat of the moment. I'm of the mindset. The second something hits neck up, automatic suspension. I don't care.
And that's what I like the fact that the league stuck in and said, all right, we're going to give you 2 games here.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I don't think any more needed to happen. What I will say is the fact of the matter is that the league needs to decide to be like the league that came out of the 04-05 lockout and tell these referees that they need to call everything, especially in overtime when star players are getting hacked on the hands, hooked, held, and everything. This isn't playoff hockey right now. We know the rule book goes out the window. But Austin Matthews, before the Heritage Classic game, gets slashed on the hands and there's no call in overtime. And the referee's standing right there. Now, withstanding the refs aside, the Toronto Maple Leafs need defensive help. They cannot leave their goaltenders out to dry anymore. It's the same old with the Leafs. If they get pushed around, they don't know how to respond.
Sure.
Exactly. And they look again. We've talked about it once, and we'll talk about it 1,000 times between now and playoffs. They look like a team that is determined to playoff series win drought to 18 years, which it is always funny after Sabres and Leafs play. I don't get involved in the trash talk because, again, I like both squads, which is blasphemous here. It's always hilarious watching the Leafs fans go, well, make the playoffs and have some success. And then the Sabres fans have the easy retort of, we won a playoff series more recently. And they haven't been in the playoffs in going on 12 years. And they've won a series more recently.
It's true, though.
So it's always funny because I've not once seen a Maple Leafs fan on Twitter be able to respond without name calling after that insult. Like,
oh boy,
go for the make the playoffs, get good, blah, blah, blah. The response always comes down to win a series more recently than we have. And then it goes to, well, I'm going to insult you for how you look. And it's always hilarious that it gets to that point. Speaking of hilarious at the point it's getting and team that isn't so good with a star player in the lineup, the Vegas Golden Knights are a whopping 4-8-1 since Jack Eichel returned to the lineup. They can't score. You have Max Pacioretty punching players in the head and somehow being allowed in the back of the head and somehow being allowed to stay in a game. Again, goes back officiating. I feel like I can do a Mike Saves Hockey episode on officiating every week.
Yeah, you can.
You could.
You could.
They're 4-8-1. They're not playing well. Again, another team with poor goaltending. Their defense is porous, and they can't keep up with anybody on the scoreboard. What's wrong in Vegas? Especially, I know it takes a lot for the Sabres fans need a lot. They just need something to grab hope onto. And a lot of fans are like, well, the Lucic plowing over Miller 12 years ago was like the start of the downhill for the organization. A lot of them are hoping that what happened last Thursday is the start of something else, where Peyton Krebs scores a goal, the opening goal. Alex Tuck seals it with an empty netter when they beat Vegas. And on top of that, he stole the puck from Eichel to do it. And a lot of Sabres fans are clinging to that moment. And it's but if you're Vegas, You look at that, and you look at the teams they've lost to in this stretch. Arizona, easily beaten. These losses weren't close losses. Arizona, easily handed. Buffalo, easily handed. Philadelphia, easily handed. Columbus, shit canned. Like Vegas, it was a 2-goal deficit. Like they scored goals, but they weren't in it at all watching that game. When you're looking at the Golden Knights, they went from cup contender trading for Eichel. Holy crap, who's going to stop them to? Are they even going to make the playoffs? What the hell's wrong with them right now?
Injuries, coaching, no goalie.
There's a lot missing. Yeah,
there's a lot missing. No Mark Stone, no Alec Martinez. Riley Smith's hurt. Oh, yeah, did we forget they lost their identity?
Patch now hurt, too.
Yeah, I mean, their entire first line is out of the lineup right now. Maybe the fact
they're still against the cap because of it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you didn't want to, change chemistry with Chandler Stevenson up there. I mean, maybe you move Eichel around a little bit here. They lost their identity of what this team was their first season in the league when they were misfits. They rallied. They had something to rally around. But don't forget, this team's still an expansion team. Like, we think about this team like being in this league for a while because they went to Stanley Cup final the first year and they made the playoffs every year since. This team's still an expansion team, and you're seeing expansion team woes right now, except normally the expansion team's not up against the cap. The Vegas Golden Knights are because everybody wants to go play there and everybody wants to go all in every year. Maybe they really need to take a step back, reevaluate really what they need, and go from there.
And there's a lot of talk about players who are on LTIR and will they return, and Martinez, will he be able to be back? Mark Stone, I'm still a firm believer he's going to magically be ready.
But no player is Nikita Kucherov where they magically can just show up and do what they do. But don't forget, Kucherov was skating with the team.
Yeah.
Before he showed up for the game 1 of the playoffs.
Yeah. Everybody saw what they were doing. No one was blind to it at all.
No.
But this is a Vegas team. Yeah, they need a lot of help. If you ask me today, you make me bet money on it. They're not making the playoffs because they just have no one. They have no depth at all. And they have taken the mindset of the LA Rams GM of F your picks, but except everything's backfiring on them, where for the Rams, it led them to a Super Bowl. Granted, different sport, but they still seem to have that same mindset. And we've already talked about the coaching. You guys obviously not a fan of Pete DeBoer.
Nope.
You know who they jumped the gun when they got rid of Gallant way too soon, but you guys know my feeling on him.
Look, why they're not winning tonight. Wait. Cue the update.
It's 2-2.
Yeah, it's 2-2. You give it up 2 goals to the Anaheim freaking Ducks. That's something not even the Devils can do. That's pretty impressive.
Look, I will say
every week I say you sound like a massive hater who knows his team is 30 points back.
I don't care if my team's 30 points back. I just know that team's not going anywhere in the playoff when it comes to the playoffs.
Look, I'll say this. We touched on it on Twitter the other day. If this thing keeps going, this was a similar trajectory when the Golden Knights made the final, and then had a similar stretch where they couldn't find their game, and then Pete DeBoer magically showed up and Gerard Gallant got fired. You're getting to that point again because
it's crazy, right?
If they, like I said, if this gets to, and I truly believe, if they lose to Winnipeg tonight, another not in the playoffs team. Another likely, I mean, they're only 4 points back, but let's be real. Winnipeg is not one of those teams to be worried. To me, it's Dallas and Vancouver that I have more faith in.
Look, Winnipeg wins tonight. They're only 2 points out with teams to jump.
True.
I mean, so.
Exactly. Yeah, they are. They'll be 2 points out.
I know. It's like the dilemma. It's like Winnipeg's managed to hang in there despite basically being 500 since Maurice left.
Yeah, but that just shows how bad the bottom of that conference has been too, how mediocre they've been. But I honestly, if Vegas comes out and they lose tonight, especially if they lose in regulation tonight, and then they come out again and they end up losing on, I think they play next on Thursday against Florida.
No,
they come out and they lose these next 2 games. It's if they're outside of a playoff spot by the end of this week, which is very possible. How can you go into deadline and like and DeBoer be safe? How?
He can't be because you have a precedent. You fired the coach after the coach took you to a Stanley Cup final.
You know where Pete DeBoer would be safe? If he was the coach for that shit organization run by Ron Francis, known as the Seattle Kraken, find themselves damn near bottom in the league. They are 2 points winning percentage wise. They are the worst, or they're the second worst team. They have 2 games in hand on Montreal, only 2 points ahead of Montreal is 2 games in hand on them, and they're only 2 points ahead of the Habs for the worst record in hockey because they have coach and GM combo in hockey. Okay. We're going to move on to the big topic of the day because I'm actually shocked it took this long to get there. Before we do, a reminder that you can find us all on Twitter at Full Press NHL, and Full Press Hockey Weekly this week is brought to you by MyBookie. March is here and the madness has officially begun. It's time for you to shoot your shot and score big on the nonstop action with MyBookie. Predict winners in each round of the MyBookie bracket contest for a chance to win a Bitcoin, a doodle, and over $100,000 more in cash prizes. Whether you're filling out multiple brackets, betting on the national championship winner, or simply looking for a player and game props, MyBookie has you covered. Sign up today with MyBookie and use the promo code MSH to make your first deposit, earning a free entry into the My Bracket contest. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. And do you like how we have the code MSH? Because even MyBookie knows that Mike saves hockey. Because no idea I ever have is wrong and bad. I have a giant ego, in case anybody is wondering out there. My ego is bigger than
Are you bigger? Wait, do you have a bigger ego than all ego Ethan Page?
Dude, all ego Ethan Page can't even lace my ego boots. Okay? But he can't even come close. All right? No, he's got no.
Oh, by the way, FYI, before we get into this next segment, you all better be prepared to pay my girlfriend at least $1 every time we mention the word trade deadline. That's the little thing we got going. So she's going to be a rich lady after tonight.
You could pay. All right. Put it on your tab and I'll get you never.
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay. Speaking of trade deadline, I'm going to have a soundboard for Monday. And just every time something happens, I'm going to have a trade siren. It's going to be fantastic. The NHL Trade Deadline is Monday, 3 p.m. We will be here, obviously, live on Monday from noon to 3:30 or so, covering all the latest news, rumors. But we have news because some of the trades got started early. Mainly, today
Even the chat room is in on this. Oh, boy. Oh, there goes the dollars.
Yeah.
You're rolling in.
Keep that money rolling.
And we had Tyson Jost traded from Colorado to Minnesota for Nico Sturm in a forward swap here that, to me, the first thought I had when it popped through was it's gearing up for something else from the Avalanche.
Yeah, like yesterday too. They had the Josh Manson trade, which, when you heard Manson's name out there, you really didn't hear him tied to Colorado. Colorado came in last minute, pulled that one, and had Anaheim retain half the salary. So that was the first of many moves. Now with this move, moving out Tyson Jost, bringing in Sturm, you have room to make one more move, which is everybody knows who is tied to him, and it's Claude Giroux. It's the move.
And yeah, that's immediately what I thought. So it was funny. I was recording a podcast. I was being interviewed for Fightful today for a show that's going to be airing on Thursday. And he interrupted the interview because he's a big Avs fan, Jeremy there. And he wanted to know my immediate opinion. And the first thing I thought was, it's a move to make a move. Yeah. And I'm like, hopefully maybe the move happens before this airs on Thursday so I can become like some Nostradamus of the rink or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I thought of. Like, Yost none of it moves the needle. It just seems like it's just that one little thing to
Just to get some cap space going.
spark. To light
You know what the
spark and
cruel
get
thing
things
about that trade
rolling
is, though?
for the next 5 days.
If you watch on social media the day before, obviously it was Pie Day. Guess who got the pie going on the Colorado Avalanche plane?
The Rock.
Nope.
No,
Tyson Jost.
Yost.
Yeah.
Wasn't Yost linked to a bunch of other teams though? Like his teams were calling about him.
Yeah, teams.
Yeah.
This wasn't like totally out of the blue. I mean, there was talk Toronto was kicking the tires.
I heard Washington was kicking
was
tires.
Washington was in on them. It wasn't
My
like
thought
there
is,
was,
not out of the blue. My thought was where it came out of the blue is that it was an interdivision trade. I think that kind of struck me a little bit as a, like not that Jost was traded. It was more of the fact of
conference
where he was traded to. But we'll see what comes of it on both. We'll see what Bill Guerin decides to do. We'll see what Joe Sakic decides to do. They were great rivals on the ice, and it seems like they're gearing up for something more.
There we go again.
Which makes it fun. It makes it fun when players who played against each other on the ice are GMs at the same time in the same division, trying to get things going. I don't know.
I think Sakic's winning that one right now.
Yeah, Sakic's kind of
Sakic-
winning this one. He cuts cap space and he gets a more defensively responsible forward to boot.
And he
to
gets
help,
a
especially
physical.
when they have goaltending concerns. Obviously, that having a guy like Sturm does help in front of the net and keep the puck out of the slot.
Same with Manson. Manson's a physical defenseman. They've been pushed around the last 2 years in the playoffs. And to have a guy like Manson and now you're going to be physical to go along with Makar, Byram, and that group, forget it.
Physical.
But don't forget, the Colorado Avalanche haven't made the big move yet, which is potentially opening up $7 million in cap space.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one knows the timeline on Gabriel Landeskog's return.
Oh, and if I'm Colorado, it's tough. The thing is, it's really funny when you look at Colorado for how good they are. They only sit in the middle of the pack as far as cap usage. Like, that's incredible, or their cap hit. And they also only have 46 contracts. So, like, they can easily, but yeah, opening up cap space, like, Landeskog, you could very well see him thrown on long-term IR by deadline in order to facilitate that trade, and then we see them circumvent the cap like everybody does. And again, if the system's in place that way, take advantage of it. If the system, it's not the team's fault that the system, I mean, kind of, but it's not the team's fault that the system sucks. So take advantage of the system that the PA and the league agreed upon, and you're kind of just dealing with that. But what does this mean? And we'll start with Colorado, and then we'll get to some players, and we'll go through
the fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
Colorado, is it a Giroux or bust type of deadline for them? I know it's a cup or bust season, but on deadline, if you're a Colorado fan, are you disappointed after all the rumblings and everything over the past couple months that if it's not Giroux, that it doesn't matter?
I don't know. To me, I would be more concerned if they didn't upgrade that goaltending. Like, they could score. We know they could score. They just get pushed around too much in the playoffs. Like, we know they're good, but can they take it to the next level? And I'm not sure Pavel Francouz, who signed a nice deal to be a backup, or Darcy Kemper is going to put them over the edge in that Western Conference.
No. And at the end of the day, like, great goaltending, people don't give it enough credit, and they overlook it, but great goaltending is what's going to win them. I mean, Tampa Bay without Vasilevsky, they're not, to be fair, they're not winning back-to-back cups.
No, not even. They're
Vasilevsky
not even in the playoffs.
Yeah, like, I don't care how loaded you are up front. Like, you might get in, but you're going to get Toronto'd.
Or Pittsburgh the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'm going to say Toronto the last ever.
Yeah, very.
Speaking of Toronto, though, we did have Mitch Marner hit the 40 assist mark tonight, becoming the first Maple Leaf to do that in his first 6 seasons and becoming the second player ever to do that in his first 6 years, and is only run behind the record of Ovechkin for 7. So we are a team with Colorado that, the goaltending is a big thing. And speaking of being physical, we record this on Tuesday, and we air this on Tuesday nights. And tonight, Tuesday night, they play a very physical Los Angeles Kings team that could be a team in the playoffs that gives them trouble if they face because of how they play. So it's a solid barometer. Again, it's only regular season. You only go so far, but it's still a solid barometer of how things are going to go for the Avs. Speaking of how things are going, we already know Jacob Chychrun's probably not being dealt based on the MRI results. He'll be out 2 to 4 weeks. No one's, I think, going to pick that up. I don't think Arizona was ultimately going to trade him. But with him likely officially off the board unless something comes to Arizona ridiculous, what does a team like LA, good pivot here, what does a team like LA do? Because we know they were the team most interested in him. Do they just jump and go to Sherratt? But are they willing to give up a first-round pick for Ben Sherratt?
No, they'll go elsewhere. I think they'll go Calvin DeHaan. Really, I think that'll be. I think that's the play for them. I think they may look to Chicago for Calvin DeHaan, a player like that. They're gonna try to see if they can get a guy with terms similar to what Chychrun had. Look, I agree. I don't think Chychrun's going anywhere now because he's out 2 to 4 weeks. So you never know. A team might gamble and say, you know what, you'll be back in 4 weeks. We can ride it out till then because we'll have you for the playoffs. Maybe LA, decides that they like that idea and they can deal with it because they've been dealing with injuries all year. Obviously, John Klingberg's probably not getting traded now with the mononucleosis to Amiro Heiskanen, so that's out the window, and Dallas is still in the playoff mix.
Yep.
So
and
there's...
they're well in there, man. 2 points out or point back with 4 games in hand.
Yeah, I mean, so they control their own destiny, like we always say. Other than that, I don't know if they go all in on like a guy like Sherratt, give up so much for that guy. I think they'd be willing more to part with their prospects and picks if it was a guy like Chychrun.
Yep. Oh, the funny, cruel thing is if somehow the aforementioned does happen and Claude Giroux does get traded to Colorado, he gets to play Philly that week. Like,
that's crazy.
That's just. I mean, thankfully, it's not like right back as soon as he gets traded. Yeah. It's at least a few nights after the trade deadline.
So here's a name that was floated around as far as like a defensive piece. Got hurt, is expected to be back and ready to play by the weekend. Still, and that's Colin Miller of the Sabres. $3.8 million cap hit, defenseman, likely not going to be an expensive piece. Is that somebody, if you are in LA or even a Toronto where you need all the help you can get, is that somebody you look at or have any interest in that can help? I mean, he's got the playoff experience from his time with Vegas. And apparently Chris is a puppy sniffing into the mic.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Someone's
don't
do
it. If look, there's a part of me that wants him to go to Toronto just to see what would happen. Really is some kind
Miller
of evilness.
And Sandine on the same pairing.
Oh my God! There's a train wreck on ice if I've ever seen it. And
yeah,
it's something
definitely.
I would never be. I would jam my center ice every night just to see that. But that being said, there is going to be somewhat of a market for him. You have to think. He's probably one of those trades that go early too. He probably goes before our lunchtime show even gets off the ground.
Here's a name. How about a guy like Brett Kulak goes to LA? I mean, that would be a nice piece for them. I mean, the problem is people are calling about him because he's got playoff experience, and if the Kings are going to be making the playoffs, they could use a guy like that.
What about a Nick Leddy? Does he have any interest, or would teams be interested in him? I mean, he's serviceable. He's in a team that's not making the playoffs. And Steve Yzerman, if anybody's going to turn someone like Nick Leddy into prize return, it's going to be the guy who has to have blackmail at all 31 other GMs because he never doesn't fleece somebody at deadline.
I I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him. Why not? I mean, look, you put him in the right position, 6th, 7th defenseman in LA. Yeah, that's great. But I know LA wants top 4 defensemen right now, and that's why Chikrin would be a great fit for them. But I mean, if you have to go for Letty, I mean, if you protect him, he could play the top 4.
Yeah, I mean, he's not horrible.
It's not horrible. I mean, obviously you want to make you want to have a better player there, but you know what? Letty's got playoff experience with the Islanders, so why not?
We're going to move from defense because obviously defense is a big thing. There's teams like Edmonton, Calgary could possibly use it. LA, Boston could use defense. Toronto could use everything. To the forward positions, and forwards seems a lot more maybe they get dealt, maybe they don't. And the one name that constantly comes to my head is Tomas Hertl. He's made it known he wants to stay in San Jose. San Jose has made it known they want to keep him, but they can't come to an agreement at all. And there's 6 days until the deadline. Is this a case that you see, one, him being dealt, and two, if he is dealt, is this a case of San Jose trades him and then, they'll just bring him back in the summer?
Or there's a third option, which is the Chris Kreider option, where his name's out there potentially going to get traded, and then the day of the deadline, the extension happens.
So if you were to say definitively here 6 days before, would you think that's the most likely option?
I think he personally stays in San Jose. I think they figure out a way to get this deal done. I don't think they're going to trade him unless they get blown out of the water. And they're so far apart, but the fact that both parties want to be involved and it
makes it a lot easier. Yeah. I have a feeling, I wonder if it's a case of Hertl wants to know, like, all right, maybe he's taking this to the deadline to officially sign an extension because he wants to know, what are you going to do? Like, San Jose was a playoff contender for years when they had the Joes and when they had Marlowe, and they were a contender for years, and they just haven't been since making the final. Almost 6 years ago. God, 6 years ago now.
6 years ago.
Damn.
And time is a thief, man. But you got to think, maybe Hertl, even though he is 28, like he's likely going into his only and last giant contract. Mm-hmm. And is this a case of him just going, I want to sit down and I want to get as much detail as possible about what you guys are going to do to be competitive and get back to the playoffs before signing it?
Could go that route for sure.
It is in the odds, as they say, because it's pretty much. I mean, we found a site or three that has odds on the trade deadline.
That's true.
Right now, Hertl's right at about 50-50, give or take. I mean, his odds are dead even.
Yeah, because
so even the pundits and experts really don't know if he's going to do the anti-Dionne Warwick. Is he going to find his way out of San Jose?
I want to boot you for that, but it'll mess up the layout of the show.
Yep.
The graphics. Anyway. Another team that's kind of flying under the radar, and it actually gets into my trivia question, which I'll give to you now. What general manager has made the most NHL deadline deals in history?
Ooh.
Not Lou Lamoriello.
No, it's not.
Oh boy.
We're
gonna need a drink for this.
Yeah. Patrick Kane ain't getting moved at the deadline.
Zero.
As
a matter of fact,
Zero.
there is a player that is playing on his line right now that we'll allude to later that his odds are also dwindling.
Amazing what happens when you put players in positions to succeed.
You mean like the line that they were supposed to put them on in the beginning of the season?
Yeah.
But tried to bury him instead.
Do you guys have it?
You got an idea on this, Jim? Because I don't.
I was gonna throw out Brian Burke, but
David Poyle.
Nashville.
Well, yeah, because the
38
tenure.
deadline day deal. Say that 5 times fast. And he enters another one with his Nashville Predators right up at. Isn't that a great segue to that?
Wow.
Yeah, it's almost like this guy doing all the segues should host a show on Trade Deadline Day, March 21st at noon Eastern here on Full Press Coverage. I had to do it again. I had to. It was there. If you're just listening to this audio, you're like, what the hell is this going on? And then you're watching on video and you're just like, why is he allowed to host anything? And
it's more fun this way.
But Nashville tied points-wise with Minnesota for third in the Central. Minnesota has a game in hand, but they're there. They're fighting for playoffs. They're a likely playoff team. They have UC Saros has been, and Chris, you've been on the UC Saros train all year, even to the offseason. He's been the backbone for this Predators team, keeping them in it. Does David Poyle have, do you think, pulls? Granted, this is also the GM that traded a first-round pick for Paul Gostad, notwithstanding. But it's also the same GM that pulled out Philip Forsberg for Martin Erat. So you win one, you lose one. And that win, to me, far outweighs the loss. Do you think this is a deadline where he goes out and he makes a move to get this team better for the playoffs? Or is the biggest deadline move them announcing a extension for Philip Forsberg?
Damn.
He's a player no one's even talking about at this point, like about a possible trade move. Like everybody seems to think like they're going to find a way to get it done. Because again, this is another situation where both the player and the team have said, I want this to stay. And
the problem is, unlike with Hertl and San Jose, who are close, these two parties are far apart. And
there's also an incendiary device in the middle of them known as a coach.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is he needs to be paid more than Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson are getting paid per year, and have some caveat of no trade, no move clause put into his
something contract.
Right, exactly. So I think I don't know if they announced
it's not like they're a team with no space. Let's be real. It's not like they're a team with no cap space, because they have a ton of cap space.
God space.
And Duchene and Johansson are making $8 million a year. Philip Forsberg at 27 probably should get at least 9.5.
At least as much as Yossi gets.
A team will give him 10 to me. Someone, if he hits the market because of how stupid money flies on July 1 or whenever they decide to open it again.
Yeah, he's getting a 10.
Yeah, he's getting a 10.
So if he hits the open market, he's getting 10. I think 9.5 gets him done in Nashville because he wants to stay. And I know it's like, well, that's not much of a discount. That's a discount for Philip Forsberg after what he's been able to do since that such a one-sided trade between him and the Caps. So do you think this is something where maybe Nashville focuses more on trying to get that extension done so they don't got to worry about it? Because no matter what a player says, heading into the playoffs, they could be like, oh, we'll worry about that at the end. They think about it.
It's there.
They think about if it's their last ride, their last run with the team they basically grew up into. Is this the last run of Taco Tuesdays? Is this...
No, there'll always be Taco Tuesday, no matter where he is. There'll always be Taco Tuesday.
Okay, is this the last Nashville Taco Tuesday?
I think the extension gets done. I think it gets done, but not on the deadline. I think they're going to use him as an own rental, and they'll announce it before free agency.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think it gets done, but not before the deadline, do you think Nashville's a team that goes out and makes a trade for somebody, maybe another rental up front, even if it's an RFA type rental? Though it's tough for me to say, like maybe a Dominic Kubalik would go to be traded to Nashville, but there are other names out there. Do they? I think it would take Arizona would have to eat most of the salary cap hit, but do they go out and just say, you know what, give me a Phil Kessel because he can still shoot when he's motivated? I mean, it's rare, but he can shoot when he's motivated. Do they go out and trade for? I don't know. Do they bring in a Ricard Raquel? Like I don't know. It's tough to see what they do. But it doesn't. They don't look like a team that should stand pat. Let's put it that way.
They shouldn't, but they might. I mean, you never know. I mean, the problem is so many teams are up against the cap that I think it's when the first domino falls, it'll open up a lot of things. I mean, I think they should add up front, maybe add on the back end as well. But I mean, they definitely need to add something.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, guys, do they get stuck? You know, it's the old adage. If all the dominoes move in the end, are they the ones, you know, when the music stops and they're sitting there basically standing where everybody's sitting? And that might happen. I mean, they have all the space in the world. I mean,
They are the
40, they have $45 million in projected prorated cap space right now.
Which they are the one team where you come in and you go, all right, pick one team that surprises you, comes out, and you're looking at, oh my God, they're actual contenders now.
Yeah, they could be the crazy ones that go out and try to get a hurdle.
They could,
get a hurdle, or like, and it wouldn't surprise me. Would he say, "Yeah, I'll go there"? I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if they don't try and pry a Giroux. It would not surprise me.
It's been casually talked about in Nashville.
They have the space. 2, it would shit on Colorado's plans, a division rival. And 3, it would put them in a great position in the playoffs to not only win a round, but make a run.
And it would help their power play.
Definitely would help their power play.
And he doesn't even have to play top line minutes.
No, he could easily play middle six and be just fine.
Which is what he'd be in Colorado too. So those are two situations. Like he'd be going to a situation, maybe not as good of odds to win a cup, but I mean, if it comes down to goaltending, I'm taking Nashville's goaltending.
I'm thinking Nashville's goaltending too. I'm just not sold on the rest of the team.
No, that's why maybe a Giroux though does help plug up that rest of the team. Maybe they go after a guy like Braun in Nashville too, like.
You get both those guys in. You send like a package up to Philly or something for those two guys.
Yeah,
we
know Chuck Fletcher's a stupid GM. He just gave Rasmus Ristolainen 5.1 per over 5 years, so we know he's gullible into doing things. Maybe you offer him like 4 7th-round picks in the 2028 through 2031 drafts,
or they could go after a guy like a Calle Jarnkrok type player. They could go after him as well. I think the Nashville Predators are definitely going to be active, no doubt, but it's just going to be, like Chris said, it's when the music stops, are all the chairs filled, and if they are, Nashville's just standing there holding their hands up, then they're not doing it.
But we didn't get this, and that's the thing with Nashville. They could do that, but again, it's weird because we're thinking, oh, they could hold their hands up, do nothing, and then I go right back to that, who's made the most deals on deadline day.
Yeah, but out of all the deals he made, how many were good?
Yes. I don't know. I didn't look that far. I just got the total number. I should have looked. Let's be real.
Because he's pulled off a lot of good draft trades too.
Yes.
Like that's where
that's where it gets a little muddled, because you got to remember he's made a lot of moves that worked out on draft day.
Yeah, like with the Subban deal with the Devils, he moved. I think Erat and Forsberg was in the offseason too. He's made a lot of moves in the offseason too. Like I believe the Seth Jones that was at the deadline. I believe the Seth Jones, Ryan Jones.
I know
the crossing pass.
Yeah,
trade, we call it.
The Peter Forsberg deal where they got him from Philly was a deadline deal.
Didn't they get Hartnell from Philly too?
They got a lot of people.
Yeah, they got a lot of people.
Yeah. Or might have been. I know they traded 2 picks and Scotty Upshaw's part of that deal. The Cal Youngcroc
Hartnell down.
deal from Detroit with Patrick Eves. They had that epic, again, the Stad trade deadline deal for 2 picks, including a first. I don't know. The pick turned into Zemgus Girgensons, perennial all-star. They also acquired Mike Fisher on deadline day. And the deadline, the trade deadline day, it was a deadline day deal, the Philip Forsberg deal.
Okay, it was a trade deadline day.
2013 for Erat and Michael Lotta.
Crazy.
What a deal that was.
So, and anybody know what they're doing?
Nothing.
Nada.
Big goose egg.
Before we wrap up, because
Trade deadline.
obviously we have an hour show. We have deadline coverage coming up Monday. We have hockey, Mike Saves Hockey coming up. More trade deadline previews on Friday.
Ready.
But give me your 5 players. Actually, I won't go 5. That's too many right now. Give me your 3 players that you're most interested to see what happens with, not named Claude Giroux, on deadline day. And I'm going to go to Chris first. And then, Jim, you can't copy any of his answers.
Okay.
Can't copy any of them.
Okay.
No, really. My first one obviously is I had to go Dylan Strome just because it's like he legitimately is one of those like players that was just they had him dead, buried, buried some more. It wasn't enough. Then there was like an even greater burial.
Then he rose up like the Undertaker.
He always does. I mean, we joke about it, to be honest, but he kind of finds a way. So you have to. That's one. Now the other one, of course, is which one of those damn Devils players actually gets moved, or did they not get moved at all? So you have to kind of like go there. I won't mention the one that Jim may be interested in mentioning, or maybe I wind up doing it anyway, just because it's the elephant in the room.
Just do it.
Damon Severson. Will we finally be rid of Damon Severson in New Jersey and him costing us points in the standings? For as good of a defenseman as he is, does somebody wow Fitzgerald for once? And just fit, because look, the last 2 deadlines, there have been offers for him on the table, and they just were not very good. And ultimately, they were turned down. So, is the third time actually the charm? And finally, of course, what does Ben Sherratt actually go for? I think that's like
I still don't think he goes for a first.
I don't think he does either. I think he goes for a second, and I don't even think and I think it's a 2023 pick. It's not even a 2020.
I think whatever. If a first is involved, I think it's got heavy conditions on it.
Heavy conditions. Like
heavy.
Man, that would be Ron Francis level GM bad. To trade a first pick.
We know the market's set with Manson for rentals. It's a second and a high prospect. So that's
there. The precedent is there at least.
Right.
To go this way.
So if Sherratt's going, that's where you got to start, at least. For me, I'm gonna stay with Anaheim. Does Lindholm get moved as well? He's a defenseman that's his name's been out there. Pat Verbeek's trying to have contract negotiations with him. Do they get something done, or does he realize, hey, just got to move him? Because from everything I've been told and read, even if he stays, he's testing the waters and he's going to free agency. So you might as well get something for him now and have somebody else deal with it. What do the Vancouver Canucks do? Connor Garland, Brock Besser, do those guys move? The Penguins are interested in those guys. what about up in Montreal? Stay up there, Chris. Arturi Lehkonen. Does he move at the deadline? He's a name that's continuously been out there. And Mike, you mentioned Detroit earlier. Seems like they're open for business. Would we be shocked if Steve Yzerman pulls off another hockey trade like he did last year? Same with Fitzgerald. You could say what the Devils did to get Jonas Siegenthaler, one of their better defensemen, probably their best defenseman for a third-round pick. Does he do that again? I mean, that's the stuff I'm kind of intrigued for the deadline on Monday. What hockey trades happen?
If there's one GM to make it, it's definitely Stevie Y.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I'm keeping an eye on if Tyler Bertuzzi ends up being part of that hockey trade.
Also a possibility.
He's got 1 year left of his contract, but if there's one thing Yzerman's not, he's not afraid. He's not afraid to do something that might ruffle some feathers. If anything, there's no player on that team that's untouchable, including the captain.
Oof. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh, Vegas. Oh boy. Oh, it's not good.
Vegas down 2-0. We do have an update on Taco Tuesday. He did not score.
But he got an assist.
He got an assist. He was close.
He was close.
He did not score.
He got a point. He got a point.
Quick.
So prop bets, he got a point. So
my three names, like Tyler Bertuzzi is the one, Brock Besser is the other, is two, and then Andrew Kopp. Do the Jets hold on to him, or do they move on? And if they win tonight, I mean, that might probably, we'll see where they're at Monday. And that's the thing. Last year, we have 4 minutes. Mm-hmm. Last year there were only 17 deals made on deadline day.
Yeah.
COVID had a lot to do with that, restrictions and players when they'd be able to play.
Yep.
2 years ago, there were 32 trades, which was a record on deadline day.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling we're more towards that than we are to last year, because, and I think more happened on deadline day this year than that. I think we could also surpass that record, because you have teams like a Winnipeg who could very well by Monday be in a playoff spot if they win all their 3 games they have between now and Monday, and Vegas continues to Vegas, and Dallas and Vancouver continue to lose. Everybody behind those 3 teams in front of Winnipeg are currently on a losing streak. So if things continue, Winnipeg could find themselves there. So it's a weird time where even teams that you thought should be sellers don't know if they're sellers just yet, and they're waiting until Monday. So that is going to be the most interesting thing to me to watch. Is Monday. I don't think it happens first thing Monday morning. They should wait for all the deals between 12 and 3.
That usually usually the first deal happens like at 11, maybe 10.
No, we might get some small deal. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, well, maybe, but like usually when everybody's trade coverage starts in the morning at like 8, the first deal don't happen for like 3 hours.
I know, and then they're playing acoustic guitar about Marty Biron's hairline. And I mean, it might happen. I might have to pull out my guitar off the wall and serenade some people with like Chelsea Dagger or something if the Blackhawks make a move or something stupid. I don't know. We'll see. But it's possible. 6 days between now and then. And in that meantime, make sure you are at fullpresshockey.com for all your latest trade deadline news and rumors. We are going to have, going up later this week, our full trade tracker, our rumor tracker. We have everything on Full Press Hockey, Full Press NHL on Twitter and Facebook. Follow Chris at Chris Wassel DFS. Follow Jim at Jim Behringer. Follow myself at Mike Straw Media. Tune in Friday for Mike Saves Hockey. Because it's trade deadline, I'm going 3 straight weeks. Usually it's every other, but we're going 3 straight weeks for the month of March. And then tune in Monday, March 21st from noon till just after 3:30 for NHL Trade Deadline Live. Until next time, this has been Full Press Hockey Weekly. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Take care, and we'll speak to you again soon.